Well, that's what it was supposed to have done. Just here under a shade, under 30 degrees. It's warm weather for this part of Canada, but it won't be too alien to both of these sets of players, many of which play their football in much warmer climes. The stadium operators have left that massive cable-supported retractable roof wide open to let the air circulate and try and make sure that those conditions don't stifle the play too much. Stands are an absolute sea of contrasting red and white. The Voyageurs, Canada's passionate supporters group, have been in full voice for hours, waving flags and driving a raucous hometown atmosphere. But don't count out the travelling Swiss contingent. Those small in numbers, due to the immense transatlantic travel costs, they are making themselves heard, singing their traditional player chants. It's loud, it's cosmopolitan, and it's a fitting backdrop for a match of this magnitude. The narratives floating around this fixture are just as rich. Let's start with the co-hosts. Since Jesse Marsch took the reins in May 2024, he's altered the DNA of Canadian soccer. He's instilled a philosophy of modern aggressive pressing, not just to win the ball back, but to instantly punish teams and look for the back of the net. And it's working. Canada has lost just one of their last 15 matches, a run that includes stunning results against top-tier global opposition. Their confidence as well is at an all-time high after hitting a historic peak last week. A rampant, dominant 6-0 brushing aside of Qatar right here in Vancouver. Jonathan, the Iceman David, is in the form of his life after netting a brilliant hat-trick, cementing his status as a clinical elite striker on the global stage. In a country obsessed with ice hockey, football is starting to become a real national pleasure. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing. The Canadians mourning the loss of dynamic midfielder Ishmael Kone, whose tournament was tragically cut short by a horrific leg break in that last match. Combine that with lingering fitness concerns over left-back Alphonso Davies, and Marsch has had some serious managerial headaches. Across the pitch as well stands a Switzerland side guided by Murat Yakin, a team that simply refuses to crack under pressure. They're on a 5-match unbeaten run, having conceded 1 goal or fewer in every single one of those fixtures, and aiming to qualify for the knockout rounds of this major tournament for a historic 4th successive edition. At the absolute centre of everything they do is their legendary captain, Granit Xhaka. At 33 years of age, the Sunderland midfielder is dictating tempos like a master orchestrator, fresh off a historic club season in the northeast of England. Yakin's side possesses an elite structural spine, but they've also injected the terrifying, unpredictable energy of 20-year-old breakout star Johan Manzambi, who completely tore up the script last week with a sensational brace off the bench. Well, let's run you through how both managers have sprung some surprises that could alter the tactical landscape of this match and break down how they line up. Canada shape up in their familiar high-octane 4-4-2. Maxime Crépeau guards the goal. Ahead of him it's a defensive line of Alistair Johnson of Celtic, young prodigy Luc de Forgeroux, Derek Cornelius and Richie Larea. The wide areas will see Tajon Buchanan and Norwich City's hard-working Ali Ahmed driving the tempo. In the centre of the park where the two changes are Mathieu Chonier and Nathan Saliba, who is in as a replacement for Kone, form the central partnership. Up front it's the dangerous leading duo of Jonathan David and Kyle Larin. Vice-captain and midfield heartbeat Stefan Eustachio completely missed out the starting 11, sat out a crucial training session as they get underway in Vancouver. His slate injury seems to have kept him sidelined for the game. Hence the unexpected addition of Mathieu Chonier. Switzerland matched them with a structured 4-4-2 formation. Gregor Kobel of Borussia Dortmund starts between the posts. The back four consists of Nico Elvede, Manuel Akanji, Ricardo Rodriguez and the young Stuttgart talent Luka Jacquet, who came off the bench in that 4-1 win over Bosnia. In the middle of the pitch, the dependable Renaud Freuler anchors the side alongside Granit Xhaka. Flanked out wide by Ruben Vargas and Johan Manzambi, who gets the start for the first time in the tournament. Djibril Sow is in the number 10 position, leading the line, Breel Embolo. A shuffle the deck from Murat Yakin. The Swiss hunt top spot. Both of these teams will go through. Where they will play, who they will play, makes a significant difference to their aspirations of going deep into this tournament. Two contrasting philosophies, two passionate fan bases, and just one vacancy at the top of the group standings. Canada all in red, Switzerland rather all in red. Canada in white today. Not only the away team, but the majority of the support, as you'd expect, inside this stadium in Vancouver is backing the Canadians this evening. As it's Derek Cornelius mopping up. He passed backwards towards Maxime Crepeau, was slightly underhit, but he got there and cleared it just in front of Breel Embolo. Here's Laria. And a foul on Laria on this near side. Djibril Sow just a little too overzealous in his challenge to try and win it back for the Swiss. And it's hit down this left-hand side. Ali Ahmed, hard-working midfielder for Norwich City, goes sprawling, and that's another free kick. And look at Jacquet, I can't quite believe it. Just dumbfounded the referee's decision there. It's a silly challenge, really. Just put a hand on the shoulder of Ali Ahmed. There'll be a set piece for Canada early on here. Match official today, the referee from Brazil, Ramon Abate, assisted by Danilo Manis and Rafael Alves with the flags. Three Brazilians, the fourth official, Kevin Ortega of Peru, the VAR, Juan Soto of Venezuela. And the roof is shut today, despite what we told you in the build-up. Free kick from just near the corner flag. Chonier. It's the face of the 6-yard box. This man Zambi pokes it away. He's a real live wire. Showed that in that involvement against Bosnia. He became the youngest ever goal scorer in this tournament's history to score a brace from the bench. And it could have been a hat-trick if Granit Xhaka had allowed him to take the penalty at his request late on. It restored that 3-goal margin. They matched each other stride for stride until that point, these two sides. Draws in their opening games. One apiece. Switzerland frustrated. Qatar. Canada had to come from behind to beat Bosnia. That's awkward for Alistair Johnson, who got his head on it, but it's going to be a corner for Switzerland from the far side. That's Ruben Vargas. He too was just as effective off the bench. Set one up for Manzambi and scored another against Bosnia. There's Vargas with the in-swinger towards the near post. And that's simple enough for Nathan Saliba. He was the man that stepped in to replace Ismail Kone. Got his name on the score sheet again against Qatar. As we mentioned, his partner Mathieu Chonière. A bit of a surprise in that starting lineup. It's Nico Elvedi. Alongside Manuel Akanji, spent the season on loan with Inter. Union Cup double. See what his future holds. He's still registered to Manchester City. His immediate future is a long diagonal out to the right-hand side. Here is Jacques. He's tried to do a bit too much. It's Ali Ahmed on the cover, helping out Richie Larea. Just down the left-hand side, and then underneath it was Elvedi. Jean Buchanan uses his body well against Ricardo Rodriguez. Claims the handball. The referee's not interested. Ricardo Rodriguez and Granit Xhaka both extending their records as the most capped Swiss players at these tournaments. Xhaka, so lays it off from somewhere near the centre circle, back to Nico Elvedi. Freuler forward. Embolo was just trying to hold off Derek Cornelius. He's backing into Cornelius a little, and we're shoving him. And if we give that one Switzerland's way. Manzambi. It's back to Akanji. Inside his own half at the moment. Just turns away from Jonathan David, wearing the captain's armband in Vancouver today, in the absence of Alphonso Davies, the continued absence, I would say. He's undoubtedly their most high-profile player, Canada. There's a clip of him going viral where he spotted someone wandering down the street wearing his jersey, and his name and number on the back. Approached him, and the fan had no idea who he was. It's a burgeoning sport in these parts. It's lovely to see Ismail Kone in the ground tonight. This afternoon in Vancouver, he was paraded around the ground in his wheelchair. He got a fantastic reception as he left the team hotel earlier on today. And he's taken his place on the bench alongside his teammates. There were high expectations for Switzerland after a smooth and comfortable qualifying route. Finished top of their qualification group ahead of Kosovo, Slovenia and Sweden. Unbeaten as well all the way through the qualifying campaign. A win or a draw guarantees top spot in Group B for Canada. Interesting new feature of this tournament is that the difference isn't the first tiebreaker in terms of points in the group stage anymore. Go to head-to-head. Here's Embolo in the penalty area, lays it off, and So's touch was a bit too heavy. Not sure he was expecting that pass back from Real Embolo. So a draw here would see these two sides finish with identical head-to-head records. Then it would go to goal difference, and a stumping win over Qatar by 6-0. We'll see them top the group at the expense of Switzerland. Rodriguez through to Embolo. Brilliant save from Crepo on the follow-up. Manzambi straight into the chest of Derek Cornelius. For a moment, I think Johan Manzambi thought about appealing for the handball, but almost stopped halfway through that shout. And Raymond Abati will just pause play for a moment. It's a brilliant ball from the left-hand side, though. I think it's Ricardo Rodriguez who finds Breel Embolo, and Maxime Crepo's done really well. Came out to close down the shot, made himself big. But that was a gaping hole right in the heart of the Canadian defence. Probably should be 1-0. Crepo plays his football for Orlando. The goalkeeper came and retreated, Gregor Kobel. The flag goes up on Carl Larin. Just a little bit slow in getting back into an onside position. Nico Elvedi and Gregor Kobel almost got in a muddle between each other. Here is Elvedi, right of centre, 10 yards outside his penalty area. In fact, he's going to go back into that box for Gregor Kobel. Now Akanji. One of the two teams in Group B are in action this evening. Qatar and Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's currently goalless between them. Bosnia looking for some kind of result against Qatar tonight to try and put the names down as one of the best placed, third placed finishers in the group stage of the tournament. It's Buchanan. Chouanier. Advantage. Larin's in an offside position. Flag has stayed down though. Larin tries to go around Kobel. Still Larin, just hesitated for a moment, pulled back to the edge of the area, and there's Saliba. The shot is blocked wide. He looks a long way offside, Kyle Larin. The flag has got up now, but it took a long time coming. And I think Manuel Akanji is making that point to Rowan Abati, the referee. Really well, Gregor Kobel wasn't to know that Larin was in offside position. Probably suspected it. Like Maxime Crepo at the other end. So his ground made him big, himself big, and forced Kyle Larin into an awkward position. Manzambi can't squeeze it down the touchline. Canada won't be able to find Jonathan David though. Fruela. Well, Lofton flies under the radar for his club, Bologna. On the international stage as well. It's the unselfish, hard work in midfield. Canada with the free kick on the far side, down their right-hand side. Ruben Vargas got a bit too tight to his man. Taco Bell. To Elvedi. Xhaka dropping alongside the defenders. Now with Akanji. Elvedi. Linking up with So. Looks for Xhaka, does Elvedi. Larea had a bit of a head start, gets there first, and he was fouled as well by Lucas Xhaka. Jesse Marsh, as always, animated in his technical area, the former Leeds United manager. Crapo to launch it. Just outside his penalty area. And then he wins the header. Canada win the throw-in. By Larea for Kanji. For a long throw as Jonathan David made a little dart along the byline. Oh, Larin can't take it down on the edge of the box. Xhaka, Embolo, Vargas, Embolo, Manzambi's made a run. They might release him here, the Freiburg attacker. Manzambi goes to ground. It was Richie Laria with a challenge. He's trying to make the most of that. Johan Manzambi. Shake of the head from Ramon Abati. He's absolutely lightning across the ground, Johan Manzambi. Goes down far too easily. And Richie Laria with a word for the young man. Neat and tidy from Derek Cornelius to get there ahead of Embolo. Chouanier. Ali Ahmed. Almost lost his footing. Can you really taste their own medicine here, Canada? As Switzerland press high. That's a lovely turn. Ali Ahmed. The best of passes to Carl Larin. From Laria. Saliba. Vargas penalised for a push on the Canadian central midfielder. Johan Manzambi collecting the ball for the Canadians. Kind of him. Cornelius to Chouanier. De Fougeron. And that's another foul out on the far side by Ricardo Rodriguez, and the referee thinking about the first booking. It's a few now. And the Swiss have certainly brought the physicality. So it could all be Mathieu Chouanier to take this. Plays his football for LAFC. He's their set-piece specialist. Chouanier, decent ball. And they get the shot away. Almost half-hearted attempt by Tejan Buchanan. And Villarreal. There's a few players that play their football in the top European leagues. A significant representation, in fact. Kobel to Akanji. Back to Gregor Kobel. Here's Elvedi. Kobel under a little bit of pressure. Larin lurking. Oh, Akanji. Over the head of Embolo. Moreira's touch takes him backwards. Given a hurry up by Embolo. Took him to ground, and that was a foul. Steady even after 20 minutes in Vancouver. Cornelius. De Fougerolles. Joined the Fulham Academy at age 8 and Scholar of the Year. He signed his first professional contract in 2023. He was on loan in Belgium at Donde last July, which seems to have accelerated his development. Canada's Young Player of the Year 2025. He's started all 3 of these games. Canada have played so far in Group B. There's Akanji. Roster Elvedi. Laid off by So. Forward by Freuler. And below will leave it for Manzambi, who's drawn 2 defenders across with him, but the flag now goes up. Canadian defence just stepped up at the right moment. And with 22 minutes on the clock, Ramon Abati points to the sidelines, and all 22 players stroll across to take on some fluids for that enforced hydration break. You mentioned the temperatures in Vancouver today, relatively warm, and you can understand it here with some of the grounds across this tournament. There's been question marks around it and starting to feel like a familiar sound greeting this break in proceedings. Boos ringing out and around this stadium as they did England's 0-0 draw against Ghana. That was in New Jersey under torrential rain in very mild conditions temperature wise, and that's putting it lightly. Jesse Marsh really in his actions here, passing out his instructions, his feedback with gusto to his players. It's really underlining what these breaks have become. It's almost a weekly coaching session. Not too many clear-cut chances. Maxime Crepeau probably with the biggest chance thus far. In this tournament so far, the opening 24 minutes or so, it seems like a feeling out moment. Time for both teams to just try and work out what each other are doing. Jesse Marsh in his pre-match comments said that didn't need the draw to top the group, as we've already said, but he's made it clear that Canada will not go out to play for the draw. He says that's the easiest way to lose a game. The best way to pick up a draw is to try and win the game. Should make for an open game if we finally get that. At the midway point in this first half, it is all square, still no goal. Switzerland 0, Canada 0 in Vancouver. Looks like we are ready to restart with a free kick for that offside. Well, it's still goalless between Bosnia and Herzegovina and Qatar. By all accounts, it's Bosnia and Herzegovina who are piling on the pressure. Cornelius. Tronier. Down the left-hand side for Maria. A couple of big games to come later on in Group C. Morocco facing Haiti, and Scotland, who could qualify for the knockout stage of this tournament for the first time in their history, face 5 times winners Brazil. Rodriguez. Long towards Embolo. Cornelius with the header away. Poked forward by Akanji. Vargas, that's a thundering challenge coming in from Alistair Johnston. And 2 men down. Referee was happy with the tackle, but because both players are still on the ground, he's asked Manuel Akanji to put the ball out of play so they can receive treatment. It's Ruben Vargas and Alistair Johnston, a real 50-50 ball there. Johnston does catch him, but it seems like Vargas's momentum carries him into Johnston's knee. Both men need to be all right. And Murat Yakin, the Switzerland manager, one of those international bosses, penchant for style. Just on the pitch, but fashion-wise as well. Iconic glasses. See ball around the Canadian penalty area before Alistair Johnston takes matters into his own hands. That'll be a Switzerland throw-in. Out on the far side. Looking to play by Rodriguez. Xhaka. Strong challenge from Saliba. Now here's Jonathan David down the outside for Tejan Buchanan. Across came Akanji. With a stern word for Tejan Buchanan, who was back to his feet quickly. Trying to buy the free kick there, Buchanan. And Ramon Abati not impressed. Started both games against Bosnia and Herzegovina and Qatar. Early in the tournament, did Tejan Buchanan. This is season for Villarreal in La Liga, 7 goals. So featured in the Champions League as well. Saliba to Larin, juggles that over Akanji. Now he's got Elvedi to contend with, and Granit Xhaka. Here's Buchanan. Buchanan sliding in. Just couldn't quite wrap his foot around the ball. And Manuel Akanji. And Switzerland have the goal kick. He's got a goal in the other game in Group B. And it's all going to the script so far. The teenager Kerim Alajbegovic has opened the scoring for Bosnia and Herzegovina. Set up by Ivan Basic. Put them on 4 points brilliant goal it was. Rifled into the top corner from just outside the penalty area. Bit of a fracas though on the pitch of Vancouver, where tempers are starting to fray. It's been a very physical game. Kyle Larin poked the ball away as Granit Xhaka was lining up to take a free kick. Xhaka's caught Larin on the follow through. It's a little bit farcical, you know. Cheeky from Larin. Something tells me Granit Xhaka knew what he was doing there. Amrabat's going to have a word with both. A yellow card apiece. I've got to say, I think that's fairly harsh on Granit Xhaka. Larin was walking away. Xhaka was over the free kick. He just toe poked it away. Almost schoolboy stuff. And probably is a yellow card for the Canada number 9. Imagine Granit Xhaka was trying to take advantage of Larin's close proximity to get him booked by not moving away from the free kick quick enough. In doing so, he's hit him right in the shin. Jacques. So, he's off to Akanji, left-hand side now Rodriguez, just steps over the halfway line. Forward to Vargas. Manzambi using his physical frame. Trying to roll Luke de Fougerolles. It's forward to Jonathan David. Now here's Kyle Larin in the penalty area. Elvedi holds him up, gets his shot away, wrapped it round Elvedi, but it's too close to Kobel, who holds on to it, with Jonathan David waiting for the rebound. It's really good movement though from Kyle Larin. That's really good from Kyle Larin. He's played domestically in the United States, here in Canada, Turkey, Belgium, Spain, the Netherlands and England. Here's Ruben Vargas darting forward, across the face of the penalty area, too close to the goalkeeper. I think de Fougerolles got a touch on it as well, and it's brilliant defending from the 20-year-olds. Brillambolo looks at the heavens. Clepo, long, right-hand side towards Buchanan. Rodriguez too strong for him. Here's Akanji. Halfway now is Freuler. Ricardo Rodriguez. Manuel Akanji. Koba. Elvedi. So, to Elvedi. And Salih Ahmed, who's pressing. Now Jonathan David trying to make life a bit awkward for Akanji. Back to Kobel. Elvedi. Larin. Falling towards the Switzerland defensive third now, Canada. De Fougerolles gets it away from Vargas. Headed down by Jonathan David. Helped down the touchline there by Chouanier. Here's David, held up. Kyle Larin came back from an offside position as he poked that inside. So Ramon Abati will blow the whistle and Switzerland will have the free kick. Rodriguez, switch of play, finds Jaquez. It was a bouncing ball and he couldn't quite get it to settle for him, but Jibril so well. Made off to Elvedi. Freuler. So, Xhaka spears one to Mbolo, held up by de Fougerolles. Xhaka now down the left-hand side. Vargas gives chase. That will just bounce away from him. Disappointing. Xhaka's talents, fairly simple pass out to Vargas, who had a bit of space to operate in. It's given straight back to Granit Xhaka by Difusaro. To Kanji, left-hand side of the centre circle. Now Ricardo Rodriguez, a couple of steps away from the touchline on that far side. Akanji, Alvedi. Akanji, Rodriguez, Manzambi. Rodriguez, Akanji. Long diagonal. Out here to Jaquez, early ball in to Embolo, who looks like he was almost pulled down by Luc Difusaro, trying to spin the young defender. Canada have got it away. Well, Embolo appeals for the penalty. We'll have a little look at it. Embolo was asking. There were a couple of handfuls of shirt from Luc Difusaro. He waved away. Rodriguez. Embolo, that's a clash of heads on the edge of the penalty area. Richie Larea. The neck actually of Richie Larea. That's a Switzerland free kick. Could have been much worse. Another goal to report from Seattle. It's Bosnia and Herzegovina 2, Qatar 0. Xhako's have already cut back, deflected in by Sultan. Going to plan for Bosnia and Herzegovina as things stand. Still goalless here though in Vancouver, but that might change. A set piece from just outside the penalty area. It's only going to be a Kanji to strike. It might be Xhaka. It's Xhaka with the left. It's high and wide, and into a very relieved Canadian crowd behind Maxime Crepeau's goal. Just did get over the top of it, Xhaka. Good flipped on by Larry. Drop for Ali Ahmed. Kiss. So, Freuler. Manzambi holds off Difusaro. Force wide though. It's a talented defender from the young, defending from the young Fulham man. He slides in, concedes the throw. A little word for Johan Manzambi. Alvedi. Kanji. Alvedi down the line. So, good on the end of it, Cornelius cuts it out. And by Jaquez. Larin. There's David. Now here's Ahmed. It's clumsy from Remo Freuler. Ahmed just waited for him to approach, then accelerated, drew the contact. Free kick out on this left-hand side. Mathieu Chouanier to take again. Chance here is a spontaneous round of applause from the Canadian supporters. David goes to ground on the edge of the box. Referee got in the way there. Nathan Saliba, I think, was looking to run onto it. He said it was Alistair Johnston who launches that over the crossbar. 40 minutes gone in Vancouver. Half-time not far away now. Pass into midfield from Nico Elvedi really typifies the game. Straight to Nathan Saliba. Such a play from Choinière to Buchanan. Sharp pass, Johnston, now Jonathan David, edge of the penalty area. David, opportunity for Ahmed. Spilt by Kobel in front of his near post. It's not the best contact from Ali Ahmed, but it's a brilliant move from Canada. Carl Larin sucks the defender across, opens up the space on the left-hand side for Ali Ahmed. Just didn't really put his foot through it like he should have. But they've got another set piece here, Canada. Mathieu Choinière once again standing over a set piece for the Canadians. Very congested 6-yard box. Choinière. By Manzambi at the near post. Saliba recycles. Here's Larea. He's alone, driving down that outside. Needs a bit of support now. So comes across to meet him. It's poked backwards to Alistair Johnston, but he will have to trudge back to the halfway line to collect that. Johnston. Diagonal out to Buchanan. Takes it down on the near side touchline. And Manzambi lashes it forward, looking for Embolo. Johnson's the last defender. Crepo, the last line of defence, though. Smashes it away. Along the deck, David is there in the centre circle. Here's Nathan Saliba. Choinière. Ahmed. David just ghosting into a bit of space between the lines. Laid it off to Saliba. Wriggles free, finds Choinière. Saliba, David, slightly behind Kyle Larin. Vargas. Can't latch onto it. Here's Johnston again. Edge of the box. Johnston looks for Larin, just caught on his heels. By Akanji. Oh, who forward by Jibril So. Vargas once again untidy, caught Luc de Fougerolles. The young Canadian is down, and that's under free kick. Not one for the purists, this. A very kind way to put it. Luc de Fougerolles going to take the free kick. Akanji. Qatar have pulled one back against Bosnia and Herzegovina. Vancouver, it's Jonathan David, edge of the box, gets his foot on it. It's always swerving wide of Gregor Kobel's goal. It wasn't scored by Hassan Al-Haidos. Qatar. One and only shot of the game, Seattle. Akanji. Elvedi. To Akanji, on the edge of the D in the Switzerland box. To Gregor Kobel. By Xhaka, Rodriguez, now Manzambi. First time to Xhaka, picked off by Choinière. Probably a bit too ambitious from Johnston to rifle it back to Choinière like that. move into 4 minutes of added time at the end of this first half. 3 goals, just 120 odd miles down the road in Seattle in the other game in this group. This one does have a feel of two sides that have already qualified for the knockout stages. It's in by Rodriguez. Valverde. Akanji. Rodriguez. Early ball towards the edge of the box. That's looped up in the air. And the outstretched boot to Chunier and got behind for a corner kick. Ruben Vargas to take, who's become somewhat of a pantomime villain for some of his challenges so far. Vargas with the in-swinger, high into the 6-yard box. High off the ground was Derek Cornelius, back into the mix by Ricardo Rodriguez, over the head of Akanji. That drops Crepo. Jonathan David took it down, but Ricardo Rodriguez was too strong. Kobo. So Akanji, Granit Xhaka. Akanji. Valverde. Into Kobel. Xhaka will come and collect it off of his goalkeeper. Valverde and Akanji just switching sides for the time being. Really on the left-hand side of that centre-back duo. And Akanji on the right-hand side. And Hackett is fullback. Derek Cornelius just steers Gibril so over the touchline. And then with the throw it. Chonier. De Fougerolles. There's Cornelius. Jonathan David tries to force the return pass to Aliano, but combination of So and Akanji get it away, and now he's foiled. He's all moving. It's Xhaka outside the centre circle, inside Canada's half of the pitch. Manzambi back to Xhaka, getting forward. So to his right to Braille. Embolo, the back heel back to Embolo from Freuler, trying to get on him the pass. He's committed the foul. Jonathan David it was getting back, doing some defensive work there. Trudge downfield, Jonathan David back into his more conventional position. Braille Embolo once again cutting a bit of a frustrated figure. And Ramon Abati blows the whistle for half-time. It's the midway point of this final game in Group B for both of these two sides. And to be totally honest, you'll probably find better games elsewhere in this tournament over the past few weeks and the weeks to come. That's not to say...
Atención, sisplau. El Real Madrid i Boín, amb el número 103, Di
As the second half begins, there is an eventuality where Switzerland could find themselves, or Canada at least, could find themselves out of the top two of Group B, but it would take a remarkable game. Is Manzambi all the way across goal. Vargas! Deadlock broken within 40 seconds of the second half. The Canadian supporters stunned. Comes from Manzambi down the right-hand side. It's his second goal of the tournament, Ruben Vargas, after scoring in that 4-1 win over Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's a beautifully worked goal. Breel Embolo unselfish as he drew the defenders away. It was Hackett with the pass down the outside for Manzambi. Larrea tries to get across. Derek Cornelius is the man who's distracted by Embolo. That leaves a space for Vargas at the back post, takes a touch and then smashes it past Maxime Crepeau. It was a game that was crying out for a goal, and we didn't have to wait long for it at the start of this second half. And that means Canada will have to go out and try and find an equaliser if they want to stay here for their round of 32 tie. That will be played in just 4 days' time, incidentally. If they are to finish second down in Los Angeles, it'll be the 2nd of July in Vancouver. It's probably South Korea in Los Angeles waiting for the runners-up of Group B as well. Difficult to put your finger on who will be the side travelling up here to the west coast of Canada. At the moment, Algeria, Iran and Egypt the leading candidates for that third place finisher position. Saliba down the right hand side here for Buchanan as Canada try to craft a response. Still back heel from Xhaka, and now Vargas the goal scorer. Close game, Buchanan. And Switzerland have the throw. Well, they've done it once before in the tournament, Canada. Against what you might deem weaker opposition as they trailed Bosnia and Herzegovina in Toronto. Well, Carl Larin levelled things up in the 76th minute. Xhaka. Hakes. Xhaka. Here's a Kanji. There's a diagonal again from Xhaka to Hakes. Chests it down, turns it backwards to Freuler. Now Xhaka. Spears one over the top. Embolo tries to take it down on his chest. Just about got away from him. Alistair Johnson can poke it free. Vargas on the left-hand side. Now here's Ricardo Rodriguez. Xhaka to Vargas. Into the box. Xhaka. No look pass. Manzambi goes to ground. Looks at the referee for the second time this evening. And he gets the same response as he did in the first half. Ramanabatu just turns and watches the ball sail downfield where Gregor Kobel steps out of his penalty area, collects and then distributes that to Nico Elvedi. Two red cards in the Bundesliga for Johan Manzambi. He does have a short fuse if you are to provoke him in the right way. I'm sure there's enough for the challenge from Alistair Johnson to spark an intervention from the VAR. Saliba. Figueroa. Cornelius. Tries the diagonal out to the right-hand side for Buchanan. Johnson is underneath the second ball after Rodriguez gets it away. Now Xhaka. Saliba. Beaten to it by Xhaka. Johnston heading back towards his own half. Just lent onto by Ruben Vargas, who's been a little bit spiky on this left-hand side for Switzerland. Johnston. Ali Ahmed will scamper across to keep running players. It dipped over the head of Hakes. Is So getting back. There's a little shove from Richie Larea. No, but it will be a goal kick. Well, it's that combination again. Vargas and Manzambi. They changed the game against Bosnia and Herzegovina in the last round of fixtures. Done the same to wait a little while before Switzerland found their feet. Maria on the left-hand side, Elvedi underneath it. David for Larin. No, Chonier. Johnston on the outside of his boot tries to just flick that forward towards Buchanan. It's backed by Rodriguez to Kobel. Launched away, Embolo backpedaling. Cornelius wins it. Johnston gets in the way of Vargas. Now Xhaka, Rodriguez down the line for Ruben Vargas. Xhaka, Rodriguez. Switch of play. Here's Hakes. Soldarea, the dummy for Manzambi at the back post. Just flicked away by Alistair Johnston through a Swiss throw down this left-hand side. Forward comes the old war horse, Ricardo Rodriguez, 33 years old. Long into the penalty area, So jumps for it, misses it. Drops to Richie Larea, bit of time to carry it forward. Now down the left-hand side, looking for Jonathan David. That's a poor pass, horribly overhit and under play. Marquez with the ball in his hands. Area. That bounces off the instep of Djibril Sow. Valeria. Chonier. De Fougereau. On the outside for Buchanan. Speared forward by Saliba. Johnston tried to flick it down the right-hand side, but Buchanan was on the back foot. It's yet another Swiss goal kick. A little flurry of excitement at the start of this second half. It's back to the pattern we saw in the first, though. Angie takes it short to Kobel. Left it long. Nico Elvedi. Cornelius was impeded by Johan Manzambi. Voices his frustration to the assistant referee on that far side. Off by Saliba to Johnston. And De Fougereau. Cornelius. Chenier. Johnston edge in the centre circle. Buchanan wide on this right-hand side. Field to Saliba. Goes down by Xhaka. Now Chenier. Encourages Cornelius to get forward. This passes to Ali Ahmed on the left-hand side. Ahmed. Into the box, looking for Larin. Just got him a bit too early. Akanji used his body well. Hasn't had many of those kind of deliveries to feed off of Kyle Larin. Uses considerable frame. He's careless. Here's Embolo. Laid off. Manjambi! It's through the goalkeeper, Crepo. A stingy drive. But once again, it's unselfish centre-forward play from Priel Embolo. It was just a big lump downfield. Takes it down brilliantly, Embolo, surrounded by defenders. And Johan Manzambi scores for the third time this tournament. It's just a long ball through the middle. It runs off the back of Luc de Fougereau. Cornelius misses the header, so does Fougereau. Embolo sucks both centre-backs across to him. It's so close to Maxime Crepo. Down low next to him. Those can often be quite difficult for the keepers to react to. Tries to get hands to it, instead it just squeezes through. And Maxime Crepo wants the ground to swallow him up there. Well, that's the cue for changes. 3 of them for Canada. The case here of Jesse Marsh recognising that the game might well already be away from them. Off goes Mathieu Chonier, Ali Ahmed and Carl Larin. And on comes Eustachio, who didn't start the game, Liam Miller. And Tani Oluwaseyi. He's a bit of a late bloomer. Wasn't MLS regular till 23. Became in his tanny time through his knack of scoring they call clutch goals in this part of the world. In this stadium, which was not pumping with noise, has gone a bit quiet since that second. Here's Difujaro. David, neat turn away from Akanji. They know each other from their time in Serie A this season. Jordan Davis, David at Juventus. Almost fluent of seasons for him, the old lady. Johnston, Saliba, there's Liam Miller. Oh, City man, he's won inside a corner. He'll be playing Premier League football next season, Liam Miller. That's Derek Cornelius at the back post. Some contact with the volley and took a deflection on the way past. Yes, Miller was product of Liverpool's Melwood Academy, stints at Kilmarnock, at Charlton, even Basel as well. Here is Miller into the mix. It's up but not away by Elvedi. Pushed away by Coble, not too convincingly, but he'll get a bit of help from Jibril, so he gets it away. It was Tony Oluwaseyi who was positioning himself under that dropping ball. Play put to Miller. Steps inside, tries to drift away from Hackes. Miller ran into traffic, and now here is Manzambi. Cornelius has just about got back at him. Looked like Manzambi had escaped before. Well-timed challenge from Derek Cornelius, wins it back from Canada. Promptly given away by Liam Miller. So, Hackes, Elvedi, Akanji. David, pressing Elvedi, back to Coble. Xhaka. Sense the challenge was coming, and Saliba was just a little bit clumsy in the application of his tackle. Xhaka left on his rear in the 18-yard box. More spirited side, Canada, one goal. Just stoke the flames again. At the moment it's all a bit tame. The changes have made an impact. I'll tell you one though, quite yet. Saliba, heavy touch, invited the challenge of Xhaka. So, jumping with the substitute, Eustáquio. Miller with a free kick towards the left-hand side. So 10 appearances in the MLS for LAFC. Porter, midfielder. Timberlo's turn to win the foul just outside the centre circle. And Fujarol with the challenge. Bolo escaped. Akes had to stretch to prevent the pass from going out of play, and in doing so, he's put it out of play himself for a Canada goal kick, wasting no time. Maxime Crepeau with the restart. Dear Fujarol. He's returned the ball by Cornelius. Johnston. To Fujarol, to Cornelius on the left-hand side. Long ball for Oluwase. Just felt a little bump in the back from Elvedi. And a smile from Tani Oluwase. Kanji. Kobel. It's going to have to go long now. 40-time slip from Richie Larea. Zambi almost took it away from him, but he had assistance from Derek Cornelius. And Joao Manzambi stayed on the ground. Just feeling that left knee. It did seem, right knee rather, it did seem a little bit of an awkward fall. And the Swiss players all gesturing for Alistair Johnson. Stephen Eustáquio to put it out of play. Now Joao Manzambi can receive some attention. We'll have a look. Between the legs, and there's an awkward fall for Joao Manzambi. Getting much sympathy from around here. Zambi's back on his feet, and no obligation to get off the field of play. Jesse Marsh has a lot to say to the fourth official here about that. Cornelius. Liam Miller. Eustáquio. Zambi's moving absolutely fine. There's the problem, isn't it? So Mr. Boyle cries wolf. This tournament, you've seen some changes to rules where the players go down. There is an enforced amount of time that they have to go off the pitch for if they do receive treatment. The game was stopped because Alistair Johnson let the ball go out of play, and Canada were building a little bit of momentum at the time. It means that sometimes teams will decide not to put the ball out of play when there is a player severely injured. They're under no obligation. It's not necessarily the referee's responsibility to do that either. That's a nice back heel from Oluwase for Miller, looking for Jonathan David. He turned away from Elvedi, recovered well, threw his body in the way, tight angle. The far side of the 6-yard box. Nico Elvedi makes sure that won't get on target. A good break from Liam Miller down that left-hand side. Eustáquio. High in swing here, swinging towards the back post. Punched away by Kobel. There's Saliba. The touchline, right hand side. Laid it off to Larea. Saliba. It's off Rodriguez for a throw in. Alistair Johnson will take. Can launch these. Does. Saliba. Eustachio. Over the head of Cornelius, got the shout from Johnston. That'll be a corner. It's off Vargas. Johnston will leave it for Steven Eustachio. In the air from the Canada captain. By Akanji. Luis Larea. To Eustachio. Shifts inside, still going Eustachio. Prods it round the corner, looking for Tejon Buchanan. That'll trundle over the touchline. Referee will allow play to continue. We're past the point at which we expect that second hydration break. Buchanan. Away by Elvedi. There's Miller. Larea. Saliba. David on the left-hand side. Richie Larea forward. Oluwaseyi. Miller will keep it in play. Richie Larea 5 yards to his right. To Cornelius. De Fougereau. On the right-hand side for Johnson. The touch took him into the penalty area. Tried to follow it up, and in doing so clattered into Ricardo Rodriguez. That's the key for the hydration break. And a wry smile from Alistair Johnston. Got across and cleared the danger, Ricardo Rodriguez. There's to be one from Alistair Johnston. Certainly contact with the defender. Much better from Canada in the past few minutes as both sets of players head towards the technical areas, take on some fluids. Quick-fire double at the start of this second half from Canada has given them, from Switzerland I should say, has given them pole position over Canada to finish in pole position in Group B. Just what they needed. Gives us a good chance as well to check in with the game in Group B, where there's been no change to the half-time scoreline between Bosnia and Herzegovina and Qatar. In Seattle, Bosnia and Herzegovina still leading by 2-1. Jesse Marsh has got all of his players together. Nominally, we have around 80 minutes remaining of this game. It's a brilliant goal from a Swiss perspective. A poor one from a Canadian. Maxime Clippo should do better for the second. The first, what she could have done about that, Ruben Vargas with a fantastic strike. It's been all about the build-up play there for Switzerland. He's quickly making himself one of the stars of this tournament, Johan Manzambi. Almost ready to resume. Still a chance for Canada to win something from this game, as we've seen so often in the tournament, as we saw in Switzerland's last game. Hydration breaks have played a huge part in shifting the momentum of the game. $4,500 in. This afternoon in Vancouver is Canada preparing for change. First of all, we'll see the departure of Jibril So. Sylvain Widmer comes on and Erbischer as well. David, the towering marksman, case who was replaced by Widmer. Tejon Buchanan has been replaced by Thomas David, so you'll see Liam Miller step across to the right hand side. Saliba in the number 10 role. Oluwaseyi alongside Promise David up front. Rodriguez, Di Fujaro, Vargas, Saliba, Eustáquio, Larrea, Eustáquio, Larrea, Oluwaseyi, Di Fujaro. Saliba towards the back post. Oh, they've got one back. It's surely his first touch. Promise David. He set up the equaliser for Kyle Larin against Bosnia and Herzegovina from the bench. He's come on with 15 minutes to play and gives Canada something to build from in the last 15 minutes. He's been on the field for just 73 seconds. Brilliant first touch from Saliba. The second isn't off that either. Takes it down with his right, steers it across with his left, bisects two defenders, and then Promise David uses the outside of his right boot, stretching to get his finish away. Kobil left with no chance. He's out of position. Suddenly this stadium erupts. And here he is again. Now Larrea, Oluwaseyi, Larrea, Mark Carney, the Canadian Prime Minister, celebrated that with just as much vigour as his citizens who have packed out their stadium. Eustáquio. There'll be a handful, Promise David. Eustáquio towards the near post. That one is away by Johan Manjambi. It's Miller. Strips it back to Larrea. Tuck it back to Crepo. High ball towards David on the right-hand side. Jonathan David, I should say. The two, if you are wondering, no relation to each other. Well, give it the ankles by Michael Erbischer. Set piece, 20 yards from goal. Some very big men to aim for at the back post. Danny Oluwaseyi and Promise David both taking up positions. Miller and Eustáquio discussing about how best to get something from this set piece. It's almost level at the right edge of the penalty area. One man in the wall, that's Ruben Vargas. Will be Eustáquio. That's a decent ball! It's Cornelius who was there. Couldn't turn it on target. That's a good chance. He thinks that should be a corner. I think that's behind from Johan Manjambi. Either way, it's a wicked delivery from Stefano Stacchio. Or change for Switzerland. Off goes Ruben Vargas. Dan Doy of Nottingham Forest comes on. He replaces Ruben Vargas against Bosnia and Herzegovina, and will do so here all the way round as a substitute late on. Diffugero. Cornelius. From Cornelius. What do we say? To turn, finds Jonathan David, trying to just help it forward towards his namesake Promise David. For the last 10 minutes, 80 minutes on the clock, and Promise David has brought this game a bit of promise for Canada. Kanji. So Alistair Johnson's head for a Switzerland throw on the left-hand side. As it stands in Seattle, it looks like both of these sides will be going through. Going to take something quite remarkable to change that. As Johnston plays it against the new man and Doy. Saliba with the header away. Shot down by Sylvain Widmer and Aebischer. Tracked by Larea. Forced wide here, Aebischer. Doesn't get the corner he went looking for. It looked like it might have come off of Cornelius last, but spotted up by Maxime Crepeau. Zambi out on the right-hand side. The one that all dribbled through to Maxime Crepeau. Sends it long. Another way by Alvedi. Vinci Fougerol's been penalised for a push on Brea Lembolo. To the ball, Luc de Fougerolles, but he didn't see Brea Lembolo there. Challenge again for Canada. Off goes Richie Larea, and on comes Jacob Schaffelberg. Surely a change in shape. The left back goes off, the left winger comes on. Schaffelberg, who plays his football in Los Angeles. If it stays like this, he'll be heading back to his club's hometown for the round of 32 tie. He's dropped the Tennessee water slide during his very successful stint with Nashville FC. Here's Manzambi. Crepeau spills, but holds on second time of asking. Manzambi from the byline, the cutback too close to Maxime Crepeau. Miller. Held it off well. Finds Alistair Johnston. And now down the line for Promise David. Good by Akanji. Eustachio. Miller with the header. Away by Freuler. 2 further changes for Switzerland. Cedric Itten and Christian Fasnax are going to come on. Itten replacing Imbolo, Fasnax replacing Manzambi. Itten will operate through the middle. There's an out-and-out a target man centre forward. That's not much more of a central midfielder, and it's bouncing in the penalty area. Picked away by a Canadian boot. Schaffelberg back into the mixture. Best of deliveries, it's away by Freuler and off Luc de Fougerolles. Bosnia have re-established their 2-goal lead against Qatar down the coast in Seattle. And Malic has made it Bosnia and Herzegovina 3, Qatar 1. Kobe. For Italy to flick it on. Luc de Fougerolles had to try and get it away. Here's Fasnax. Goes wide.
Remember to check out FootMob's social channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. Thank you for listening to FootMob's audio commentary. Be sure to check out player ratings, shot maps and more in-depth info on the match page. Remember to check out FootMob's social channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok.
Canada still really trying to get back on level terms here and earn that draw that would see them finish top of the group into the final minute here. Before we move into added time, there's Elvedi mopping up Cornelius' header into the box. Oluwase, Schaffelberg back to Oluwase on the left-hand side. Moves up off of Widmer to Oluwase. And they've won the throw in there, Canada. 6 minutes of added time to be played at the end of this game. It's long by Johnston. Widmer thought there was a shove in there. Back out to Johnston, out the left-hand side. Shifted onto his right. Scoops it into the mix. Oh, so close. 2 and up for it. Cornelius and Oluwase. I think Oluwase just takes it away from Derek Cornelius there. It's a lovely floated curling ball from Johnston. And he's just taking it off of Derek Cornelius. Oh, it's just flipped off the head. The second time in the last 10 minutes or so. Derek Cornelius well placed but can't turn it on target. Miller. It's just shepherded away from him by Granit Xhaka. Canadian throw-in. The throw was taken from the wrong place, according to Ramon Abati, the referee. Johnston into the Fougerolles. Crépeau. Oluwase beats Widmer to it. Here comes Oluwase. Akanji had to get that away because Promise David was lurking. Not a bad delivery from Tony Oluwase. Alistair Johnston wants more from the crowd as he wanders across to take it. Johnston towards the near post, flicks on! Ends up in the gloves of Gregor Kobel. It's that man again, Promise David. Just comes off of his shoulder. Fairly comfortable for Gregor Kobel. Erbischer, Freuler, Widmer. That's laid off to Erbischer. Widmer. No one to really aim for in the penalty area. Here's Cedric Eaton. Right hand side of the box. Lifts one in. Doyle was poised, but Johnston too close to it. Now Akanji. Skewered down the left hand side, coming together. Dan and Doyle and Alistair Johnston. That'll be a throw in for Canada. Johnston launches it down the touchline. Jonathan David can take it down. Sliding across Remo Freuler. Liam Miller quickly back in. Here's Jonathan David, pokes it forward. Eustachio. Elvedi in the 6-yard box. Another swish throw, another chance for Alistair Johnston to launch it. Long from Johnston. Away by Ndoye. Schaffelberg. Back to Johnston. High cross towards the back post. Keeper claims under pressure. Rodriguez. Seconds for Canada to find an equaliser. It's Cornelius that collects on the edge of the Canadian box. Nathan Saliba. Slung out to the left-hand side. Here's Liam Miller. Vidma to come to meet him. Laid off by Miller. Schaffelberg took too much time, looking for space. Schaffelberg towards the back post! Johnson was there with a free header, and it's straight at Gregor Kobel. They've won it back. Eustachio against Erbischer. Maybe time for one more chance. It's going to be another long Alistair Johnston throw-in. 20 seconds of added time remaining. Johnston towards the near post. Away by Rodriguez. Schaffelberg back in there. Eustachio. Promised David. Hooked a leg in it. Keeper spilt, did he? Derek Cornelius tried to latch onto the rebound. He's called Gregor Kobel. It was an honest opportunity, an honest attempt to try and get on the end of it. Jesse Marsh applauding his side's endeavour, especially in these closing stages. He's onside there, Cornelius. It's good work from Promise David. It's been a real handful. He did spill it. Has to go for it there, Derek Cornelius. And that does it. The referee blows the whistle for full time. Disappointment today for Canada. But they do make history. They're into the knockout stages of this tournament for the first time ever. There were chances aplenty in the closing stages after a real tense and tough game in the first half. Some pieces of quality from Johan Manzambi and Ruben Vargas gave Switzerland pole position to go on and win it, and win it they did, but the changes changed it for Canada. Promise David would finish with his first touch to give Canada something to build on, and build on they did. And they couldn't quite find the equalising goal. Switzerland through as group winners. Canada will finish as runners-up. They won't be able to stay here. Switzerland will. Canada will travel to LA. But for the first time, all three co-hosts of this tournament will play in the knockout stages. Full time in Vancouver. It's finished. Switzerland 2, Canada 1.
Thank you for listening to FootMob's audio commentary. Be sure to check out player ratings, shot maps and more in-depth info on the match page.